So here's the motor. You notice that I marked the crank so I don't mix them up. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the chain just to make it easier. With the link removal, go like that. Then I tied it up with a tie wrap just to keep it out of my way. Next, we're going to remove the crank. And you'll notice that there's a hole in the shaft to help you line up when you're replacing the crank. Next, we need a specialty tool. It's a Park Tool LRT-2. It's 54 millimeters in diameter and has 16 notches. This goes in to take off the chain ring. And now I'm just going to take and loosen it. Please note that you loosen going clockwise. We got a gasket. Next, we need to remove the chain guide. There's a couple screws here, another one down here. Also note that there's a couple shims between the chain guide and the frame. Don't lose those. Now the chain ring just comes off. Next, we're going to remove the 3 bolts on this side. Note that all 3 of these bolts have a washer. Now we'll turn the bike around and work on the other side. Once again, I labeled the crank, and if you notice, I put in a couple tie wraps to hold the motor so it'll hang down so I can disconnect the electrical terminals. Once again, loosen the bolts holding on the crank and remove the centerpiece. This time I'm going to leave the crank in place, but I've loosened the center bolt and I've loosened the 2 bolts that cinch down the crank. I'm going to leave this in place so it'll dangle on these tie wraps. And now I'm going to remove the 3 bolts. Now the motor drops down and you can see the electrical connections. Next, we're going to pull off the small nut wires with the needle nose pliers. 1, 2. Now you notice the battery connector has an arrow that matches an arrow on the plate below, and all you have to do is this slides up and then it comes off. There you go. Now I'm just going to take the crank off and I'll be done.